Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show. The duo is back, and the Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. If the pattern change verifies, maybe, just maybe, you're going to need some of their snow melt products like rock salt or Pelledo or Mag ice pellets and flakes, and a host of all other things, including shovels, snow blowers, and spreaders, and all at the lowest prices anywhere in the tri-state area. 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon on Long Island, 631-756-1125, serving the entire New York City tri-state area. And the website is omnitruevalue.com. Mr. Rayo, you're back.
Oh, we're back.
Yes.
It's been I don't know, I guess you can call today the Whiplash Effect.
Why is that?
Well, just to get back, I can't speak for Renata. I know she did get a little bit of sleep during the 36 hours that our odyssey to get back began, but for the most part, I was up for most of that time. And all kinds of craziness, Joe, all kinds of craziness.
Oh, I'll bet.
I told you in a message, it was about this time last night, that, and I see that we have Mr. Goodman with us tonight as well.
Oh, he's on too? He's another one in sick bay.
Well, I don't know if you could necessarily call it sick or not, but from what I have, I'm looking at myself. What am I doing? Was I moving my camera around or?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't notice anything. I'm trying to keep the dog distracted here and listening to you at the same time. Yeah, Bill had to have a hip replacement, so
oh boy,
which went successfully. By the way, I was thinking about this today. So you have said a few times over the years that you and I seem to be attached at the hip when it comes to certain things. Like, for example, we both wound up having crown issues with our teeth, if you remember, around the same time. And then there have been a few other things. And then I was thinking about the fact that you left the Sunday after Thanksgiving, and I went to the emergency room the night before and had my surgery that Sunday morning. And for the next 15 days, I've been just dealing with the fact that nothing was working. I mean, every day was the same, spiking fevers and all the rest of it. And then you started your trip home, and I went back to the emergency room, and they diagnosed me with colitis, severe colitis, and gave me the right meds in order to treat it. So I just thought that, that whole your life being in chaos on the trip, dealing with the Drake Passage and a few other things, my life in chaos medically, and now we've seemed to have come together here. You're draggy, and I'm a bit draggy too. I'm having a bit of a setback today. This is not fun. Anybody who suffers from colitis on a regular basis can attest to this. This is definitely not fun. This afternoon I started one of the really this is a little bit on the gross side, sort of, but so my whole digestive system and the large intestines all screwed up, okay, and it's all filled with bile. So when I try to go to the little boy's room, what happens is that the bile, which by the way tastes like supercharged salt water, backs up my esophagus and into my mouth. Well, unless you've got a stomach of stone, you just immediately gag and throw up, and that's kind of what I've been dealing with today, and also a little bit last night. So with the medication the last couple of days, I was feeling much better. Today, kind of a bit of a step backward here, but hopefully that's all it is, and things improve a bit for where I can get some sleep tonight. And that's another thing too, Joe. I've gotten no sleep. I don't know what it is, but my body's absolutely wired, so I basically can get like 3 or 4 hours sleep a night, and then I wake up and I'm wide awake. And I'm not drinking coffee, I'm not drinking tea, no caffeine, that kind of thing. So anyhow, that's the story of my life.
Is it my turn now?
Yes, it is your turn. It is your turn. Say hello to everybody who is, so glad to see you back.
Well, I'm happy that everybody is happy that I'm back, and I'm happy that I'm back too. I can tell you that during the last few days of our expedition, I kept tapping my sneakers 3 times and kept looking to the sky and saying, "There's no place like home," because I really wanted. After about day 10, Joe, I think I had just about enough, but I had to stretch it out to the full 15 days and the final 36 hours of this trip. It started at on Tuesday morning. It started at 4:45 a.m. And
Your volume is low.
my volume low, Joe?
Uh,
Can you?
it's popping in and out. Talk to me.
It's hello.
Yeah,
Hello there.
no, your volume's okay on my end.
Okay. Well, certain individuals in another room are saying I'm coming in very low, but I'll speak up just a little louder. Paul Roman says, turn up the volume, Joe Ray. First of all, I'm not wearing my headphones. I'm not using my Bluetooth tonight because it didn't occur to me until just a few moments ago before this show started that maybe I should have charged up my headphones. They've been sitting there dormant for 2.5 weeks. So Lord only knows the batteries probably don't work. And I should have had it charged up. But in any case, at 4:45 a.m. on Tuesday morning, the alarm went off in our room, Eastern Standard Time. It was 6:45 Chilean summertime where we were.
Mm-hmm.
And the alarm went off, and it was time to get ready and get out and head out off the ship and head out toward the airport. That was going to happen several hours later. But among other things, the night before all of this, the Chilean government boarded our ship, and they also had dogs, Joe. I guess they were sniffing around for drugs or whatever they were sniffing for. And what happened was that the Chilean government decided that instead of having the 15 or 20-minute quickie test for COVID, that they were going to do a complete PCR, which meant not only did we get tested, then they would go to a lab that they had on the ship, would take a few hours, and they would finally determine who had COVID and who didn't have. Thankfully, nobody on the ship had COVID, but in order to get off the ship, we needed an official document from the Chilean government.
Right.
And so here Renata and I are waiting online patiently at the administration desk on the ship. People are getting their documents. Oh, here it is. And now we get up there and the woman says, name, please. And we say, Rayo. And she's wafting through, there's like 150 people on the ship. So she's going,
number, please. Number, please.
R. Yeah, R. Robaninsky, Rabano. He said, I can't find Rayo here. So she looks at the person next to her and says, do you have Rayo in your batch? And no, we don't have Rayo here either. And he says, I'm sorry, we seem to have lost it or misplaced it. We will find it, but don't worry about it. Now, of course, when you tell somebody, we've lost the document that's going to enable you to leave the ship and leave the country. Otherwise, there is no leaving of anything. And she says, don't worry about it. We'll find it. You say that to somebody and like immediately my cardiologist says, why do you get stressed out, Mr. Rayo? Why do you have such high blood pressure? See, this is one of the reasons. And so Renata and I look at each other and we say, all right, we'll come back in 20 minutes. And you figure that during that 20, I'm watching the desk. I'm figuring that somebody behind that desk is looking around trying to find. No, they're just continuing to conduct business as usual. In other words, this will be a problem that hopefully will solve itself. Because 20 minutes later, when we came back and said, have you found our forms yet? They haven't found our forms. They didn't even look for our forms. And this is how it went. Renata said, all right, let's not get stressed out. Let's go upstairs and have something to eat. They were serving a light lunch before we all left the ship. I couldn't eat a light lunch. I couldn't eat anything. I'm like, ah! And finally, with the clock running down, the clock is now running. It's now 30 minutes before we get off that ship. And everybody's walking around on the ship all happy because they're all packed, they're all ready to go. They've got their special documents saying they don't have COVID and everything is going to be fine and they can get off the ship and leave the country. And we're sitting there with no document. And finally, they say, well, look, we can't find your document. We can't find anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to perform a regular test on you, the antigen test, the one that takes only 15 or 20 minutes to determine whether you have it or not. Now, we knew we didn't have it because they announced on the ship, it says, none of you have it. All of you passed. So we go back downstairs. I forgot, I lost count how many times I had been tested from the moment that I was about to go on the ship to the moment I'm getting off the ship. This must have been like test number 5, test number 6. Take the swab, shove it up your nose, pull it out, boom, 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 boom. 15 minutes later, the doctor comes back and says, well, you passed. And she presents me with the short form, so to speak. And she says, I'm sure that they will accept this in the United States. And I looked at the doctor and I said, yeah, doc, I know they're going to accept it in the United States, but will the Chilean government accept this instead of the PCR? And she looks at me and she says, I do not know. And so now we're waltzing off the ship. We get on the bus. We're heading off. What do you want? What do you?
You left out the details that there were a good number of other people.
There weren't a good number. There was maybe 5 or 6 other people.
Well, there was a bunch of people that did not get their paperwork. They didn't get the paperwork.
I don't care about the other people.
I know you don't.
I don't care what the other people. That's their problem. My problem and your problem was getting off that damn ship and getting back home.
I should have stayed. Anyway.
Well, you did. You did get to make a return.
The officials of the cruise company were in constant contact with the authorities, and they knew that the initial tests were all good to go. And we still needed this piece of paper, though, to go from Chile into the United States, and that was the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
that was it.
We're here.
well, glory, hallelujah on that.
But
we wanted to make sure you were back and came back in one piece.
Well, that was only the beginning of the long 36-hour day, Joe.
That's true.
Because when we
you ready for this?
they did accept the paper, the document. Yes, right. You can go on, leave. Get on this flight from Punta Arenas to Santiago. This is like a 3-hour flight from the bottom of South America to about the upper quarter of South America, where Santiago is. We land in Santiago. We get our luggage, one of which, our biggest piece of luggage, American Airlines had the great fortune or misfortune of breaking one of the wheels off. That was the heaviest of the 4 pieces of luggage that we brought. So I'm dragging along a 4-wheel luggage
right.
with one
shooting
wheel
out sparks on the tarmac.
Yes, exactly.
Right, gotcha.
And we meet this gentleman from the airline we took was LATAM.
Mm-hmm.
They are the official airline of Chile.
Used to be Pterodactyl Airlines, but we won't go down that road.
And so we meet this gentleman, and the gentleman tells us as we're getting our luggage loaded on for the trip to Miami, oh, well, you're not staying in Miami. I said, no, we have a connecting flight from Miami to JFK Airport. And he says, well, you no need worry. Your luggage will be automatically put on the plane going to New York. He says, you need not worry about any of that. You're. I said, really? So I don't have to worry about taking the luggage off and then going over to put it on the other plane. No, 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 no. It automatically continues on your transitioning flight. I said, that's great. That's fine. So we get on board this flight, and the Santiago flight was already delayed by we had a layover in Santiago of about 5 hours. There's nothing like being laid over in Santiago for 5 hours.
Da 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 da. Bum ba da 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 da. Bum ba da. You should have done. You got yourself a pair of maracas and done that on the runway.
We were on Santiago, the Benitez Airport in Santiago is a fairly large airport where you can walk for miles before you get to your gate. And what we were looking for, since we were going to be there for about 4 or 5 hours, was a place to eat. And we found this, basically, we found a Dunkin' Donuts, it was closed. We found a Ruby Tuesdays, it was closed. Every dining establishment in the part of the airport that we were in was closed, shut down.
Closed.
We found one place, Joe. We found one place which could have been the Santiago version of that place in. Where did the Ricardos and the Mertzes get the cheese, the specialty of the house, the cheese sandwich?
Oh right. The cabin that they stopped in on the way to Cincinnati.
Clear
to Cincinnati.
Yeah, exactly. We found this place, and we found this place, and all we want. By this time, I was just like begging, just like Fred Mertz in that episode of I Love Lucy. I would have eaten anything at that point. And they served us. I am not kidding you. It maybe was about this big in width and this in size, about this thick or whatever. It was a ham and cheese sandwich. Was it ham and cheese or what was it? What did we have? Are you out there? She's not out there. A ham and cheese croissant sandwich.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, good.
Croissant.
A croissant.
And they heated, and the woman behind the counter heated it up for us. And so now the cheese is all like melty and slimy on top of the ham. But I didn't care. The amount of money that these two little things cost was $20.
Right.
$20 American money or whatever. And on top of that, Joe, she asks, what do you plan to give for a tip? I said, what do you mean a tip? And she said, and here's what the tip was for. The tip was for that she took this small tray with these two small sandwiches and walked it over 5 or 6 feet to the table that we were sitting at, put it down in front of us. That was her way of waitressing, from behind the counter waitressing. So what are you going to do? So we said 10%. She accepted it. I didn't want to do it, but 10%. And we had this, it was gone in like 2.5 minutes or less. It was not until later, a few hours later, that we realized that we were on the wrong part of the airport, that our flight was leaving on a different part of the airport. We walked all the way over there, and what do we see? Gigantic McDonald's. And that's what I said, McDonald's was here, and I had these two lousy little
figures.
I had to bang my head against the wall, and they weren't. I mean, unlike this hole in the wall that charged us $20 for these two little sandwiches, the prices for the McDonald's. I had a quarter pounder with cheese. Renata had a Big Mac. We split we had some soda. I mean, that was what you typically would get here in the United States.
You realize that everything you've mentioned right now is causing my stomach to do cartwheels. Just so you know. Okay. I mean, it's literally flipping right now. So you're torturing me here.
This flight that we were supposed to be on, it was originally supposed to leave at 11:25. Then they moved it to 11:58. Finally, the darn thing arrived. We get on the plane, filled up. The whole plane is filled up. I don't think we left until like 12:30 or 12:35. My wife was sitting next to this poor guy who didn't realize that he needed a mobility pass to get into Chile. He was on a business trip. He didn't go through all the rigmarole that we had to go through in order to get permission to get into Chile. You have to file a mobility pass. It takes 2 weeks to get that, and another pass. It takes another short amount of time. He came into Chile with none of this, and they threw him in kind of like a holding cell for 10 hours without any food or
God.
water. The guy is going back to Miami, and he's sitting next to Renata, and the guy is literally shaking and telling his story, his sob story, his tale of woe to Renata. While I'm sitting there next to the window, just like, oh, thank God we're going. Thank God we're finally going and getting out of here. And the flight took us up to Miami. We had a 2-hour layover in Miami. 2 hours. However, the first hour was eaten up by the fact that when we landed, we were already like an hour late in getting to Miami. And now the people on the plane, the staff people, instead of getting us all up and out as quickly as possible, all right, we rows 1 through 5, then 5 through 10. We were in row like 40. We were in the back of the plane. So it's taken us, by the time we got off the plane, I'm looking at my wristwatch and I'm saying, we've got about 50 minutes before our plane takes off. And now, once again, now we're in Miami and we have to walk all the way across. First, we have to get verified that, welcome to the United States. They stamp your passport. They look at all your documentation and everything else. Boom, 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 boom. Now the clock continues to tick. And now we're down to like 30 minutes before the flight is about to leave. And I'm looking at Renata, I'm saying, we're in trouble. We are in real trouble because there's a line about as long as from here to Poughkeepsie to the security line to get through, and they're telling you, take your shoes off, take your belt off, sir, walk through, put your arms up, you go through the machine, it goes around and around. And like, we actually went up to people who were like way ahead of us. Please, we've got to make a flight. We've got to make a flight. Can you let us go ahead of you? Can we go? We have to go. And people were nice enough. They were letting us ahead of us. But still, the time was running out. And finally, when we got through everything, the security line and put the shoes back on, everything, and now we're running. We're running to the gate where our flight is going to be taking off from Miami to JFK. We're running. We get to the gate, and I know that by this time the flight is about to close or already has closed. We get there and we see through the giant window, there's the plane heading to New York, already pulling out. I mean, nobody is going on the plane. Well, the plane is pulling out and getting ready to go and taxi. And we said, that's our plane. That's our plane. And she said, sorry, you didn't make it.
Oh, well. But you're home now. So
we didn't
home.
We didn't make it. We didn't make it. And we said, what's going to happen? So we had to reschedule our flight. Now, instead of the morning flight, we now have to wait until like 11:30 in the morning, late morning, afternoon. But we're still saying, but what about our luggage? Our luggage is on that flight. Our luggage is there,
Yeah.
And finally, when we talk to somebody, an official at the airport, and we get everything straightened out, now we've got a new flight. We're heading back to JFK. We say, but what about our luggage? Our luggage is on that flight. He says, what do you mean, what about your luggage? I said, your luggage is on that plane. I said, what do you mean your luggage is not on that plane? He said, it stays here. It has to go through customs. I said, the guy back in Santiago told us that it was automatically going to go from one plane to another. He said, the man in Santiago was wrong. He told you wrong information. If this was a domestic flight to a domestic flight, it would go that way. If it was an international to an international, it would go that way. But no, your flight was international to domestic. It had to go through customs first. It's here in the airport. So now the search begins to find the luggage. And we found this gentleman who was very, very kind, took Renata, brought her upstairs. 20 minutes later, here they come with the giant cart and all of our luggage on there. And to make a long story short, or short story long,
we're past that point, but go ahead.
we finally got everything off.
We're way past that point. Okay, go ahead.
I mean, I have to get this all out. It's a catharsis. It's a catharsis. What happened all this time? Finally, at like 5 o'clock, the guy who's taking us back to our house, we're rolling up our driveway. I'm like almost crying at that point. Like, we're back.
Well, it's nice to see you back. We're very, very happy to see you back.
We slept almost 11 hours, Joe.
Yeah, I know. It's body stress. I get it. I noticed a lot of
So what's
folks.
new with you, Joe?
Yeah, apparently. You don't want to experience my catharsis, okay? Trust me on this. You do not want to experience my catharsis that I am that I'm dealing with. So anyway, thanks everybody for the kind words. I haven't left the house in 2 days, so I know a few of you have mentioned to pick up certain things at the store. I just haven't been able to do that. I'm living on bananas and applesauce, water, and tea. So that's the extent of my diet, and that's all it's going to be because I can't seem to really. Not only can't I can't seem to keep anything else down, but the idea of certain foods when I look at them just makes me want to throw up. Okay, so I'm not. I'm already seem to be after what I'm going through today. I'm probably predisposed to doing that, and I don't want to. I don't want to have an unplanned event. Javon Perry, I see you on the chat board tonight. That's great to see you on here. So anyway, we've got you're coming back. We have a pattern change that is getting underway. That Joe looks like we're going to have some colder air coming in as we head toward late next week, just in time, I think, for Christmas Eve and for Christmas Day and beyond. And I'm going to just bring up the I'll bring up the upper air here so we can take a look at what's actually happening. So we've been talking about this, blocky pattern. Just give me a moment, folks. I'll put the map up on the screen in just a second, and we'll lay it there. So remember that it's not a given. I mentioned this yesterday. I think it's probably wise for me to mention it again today. That if you think just because we're getting into a pattern change where all these lovely teleconnections are going to provide you snow lovers with fun and excitement, I would beg to differ. But just give me a moment here. I'm having a little bit of a technical issue, so just 1 second. This has been one of those nights tonight. I'd lost the internet connection. My computer wasn't picking up my wireless signal. It was a whole lot of fun trying to figure out that one. But anyway, let me get this back up. No, that's not doing it. And that's not doing it. I can't bring maps up. And now I can't even bring us up. Okay. Let's try this again. I'm just, it's hard enough to do this when you're feeling well, but when you're not feeling well, it is, you want to like kill somebody when crap like this happens.
All right. Tell you what, Joe. Tell you what. Just stay silent and
Okay.
concentrate and look and see what you could do to rectify this problem. In the meantime, I'll just go through a little weather history because on this day in 2020, just a year ago, and in 1973, which was 48 years ago, we had a couple of significant, if not substantial, weather events that took place in the immediate tri-state area. And how many of you out there, raise your hand? Well, you could raise it. I can't see it, neither can Joe. But I'm sure a few of you remember at least the most recent one, 2020, 1 year ago today, and then the one that occurred in 1973. A year ago, we had an intense nor'easter, which brought the season's first measurable snow, and it began late in the afternoon on this day 1 year ago. By midnight, we already had about 6.5 inches of snow in Central Park. The snow continued overnight through daybreak, adding another 4 more inches for a total of 10.5 inches. There were also periods between 9 p.m. and 3 a.m. where there was heavy sleet falling.
Right.
This was the biggest snowfall since the post-Christmas blizzard of December of 2010, which
By the way, we're
many
back on the
people
screen now.
many people still remember that post Christmas blizzard in 2010 as the Bloomberg blizzard that paralyzed the city with 20 inches. And today's, or the snowfall that occurred a year ago, was even more than what fell during the previous winter. The previous winter, Joe, we had a grand total for the whole winter of 4.8 inches. And this snow in one big dump dropped 10.5 inches of snow on us. It was a record for the date, the 13th December snowfall to produce 10 or more inches of snow. And this storm also dumped tremendous amounts of snow in Pennsylvania, New York, New England. Some places like Binghamton picked up in one sitting 40 inches of snow. And it was also quite cold. The high today in New York was 31, the low 24, making this the first day of the winter to have a high of 32 or colder. Winds gusted between 30 and 40, creating high wind chills in the 10 to 15 degree range. That was 1 year ago. And now here we are a year later with temperatures in the high 50s and 60s. And in 1973, and I remember this because it was my grandfather's 65th birthday. Actually, his birthday is tomorrow, but the storm that began and culminated with his birthday in 1973, the worst, or one of the worst ice storms that moved in during the afternoon. It was a Saturday afternoon, carrying over into Sunday, continuing for 24 hours. The worst of it was from late tonight, 11 p.m. tonight, through daybreak on December 17th, 1973. 3 inches of sleet, an inch of ice on sidewalks, cars, and trees. And for the entirety of the storm, the temperature range was very narrow, only 27 to 30 degrees. And that was on this day, starting on this day, and continuing to the next day in 1973. So in 73, a terrible ice storm, and 1 year ago, a big snowstorm, which, by the way, on Christmas Eve of last year, all went bye-bye when the temperature soared almost to near 70.
And we had
It went away so quick.
thunderstorms too.
We had thunderstorms too. Yeah.
Yes. So I don't know what the problem is. I was able to get us back on the screen. I cannot get the maps up for some reason. I don't know what just went wrong here. This is very, very frustrating because I did a show last night by myself. I had no problems. So I'm not exactly sure what the hell's going on.
Me, Joe. It's
but look,
me.
yes, of course.
My
So
whole the last 2.5 weeks have been cursed.
I hear you. Well,
I don't care how many of you looked on Facebook, saw Nod and I were doing in Antarctica, said this must be a trip of a lifetime for you. You must have some marvelous times. Let me tell you something. It was marvelous in some respects, but in other respects, it was and now we're back. And I'm sorry that I brought bad luck with you, Joe, that now you can't even look at or bring up any maps. Maybe I could bring up a map. If we do screen
if you
sharing,
like to share screen, can you bring up the GFS for me?
Sure.
Let's see it. Let's see what horrors I'm about to create now trying to do this.
All right. Let me go on Tropical Tidbits. Boom, I'm on Tropical Tidbits now. And now I'm going to attempt to share it with all of you. Here we go. Boom. How does that work, Joe, for you?
I'm seeing an attempt to share the screen. I'm now seeing a very large map. Okay. That is a little bit, trying to be a bit more recentered. Can you pull it up a little bit more?
Like this?
Yeah, and you know what? Go to those 3 dots in the corner. Go and go to those 3 dots, and where it says zoom, hit the minus sign and bring it down to about 80.
All right.
No, the minus sign. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I know. How's that?
Perfect. Okay. Now go to regions, and I want you to bring up the upper air. I mean, the North America background.
All right, hold on. Keep your horses on. Hold your water.
You just passed it.
Is that's
yeah? That's it. And then click upper dynamics and get the 500 millibar height anomaly. There you go.
Height anomaly or height normal anomaly?
No, height
Does it
anomaly.
matter?
I'd rather have the height anomaly.
All right, there you go.
Okay, so if you would be so kind, this is a new GFS run, so we have some of the maps are missing in this sequence, but Joe will kind of move these along from frame to frame, and we can watch the blocking high building east of Greenland and pushing westward. This is a bit of a change from what I was writing about a couple of days ago, because it looked like the block was going to be further south. This is in a much more favorable position here. So by next Monday, we've got some strong blocking developing over Greenland. You can see the the blue over southern Canada, so the northern part of the jet stream is getting displaced further south. There's also a blocking high south of the Aleutians that's very important here. So if you keep on going, and we'll let me move this up on there you go. Everybody can see it a bit better. So you'll notice that this is forcing some troughing in the eastern part of the United States. Thursday of next week is when I think things get underway, and you've got a system that's going to be moving off the southeast coast of the United States and going out. That storm is going to hook up with the strengthening shortwave that you see, that upper low that's over in James Bay. That's going to bring down colder air for Friday, Christmas Eve, and we're talking, quality cold air here. And also, it will last through the weekend and into Saturday and Sunday. Now, the critical question there were a number of critical questions here going forward with regards to the what this leaves us with for the last week of December. And we still have this very blocky look to things up in over Greenland into the Davis Straits and northeastern Canada. There's energy coming out of the Pacific that is moving eastward. Now, the problem with this, and this is going to be a big issue here, I think, for snow lovers. There's not a whole lot of room. You've got basically a deep low out in the Atlantic to the east, and pretty much a northwest flow. So even if you have some decent Pacific energy that comes in, it may just wind up getting squashed. So it's quite possible that we could have a favorable pattern in terms of all the teleconnections that we have, but it's just it could also, and it could wind up being where we're so deep into the cold air, at least aloft in terms of the upper flow, that there's no room for anything. And that's what I think the GFS at least is telling us here, that yeah, it is going to get colder next the week after Christmas for sure, starting Christmas Eve and then going on through the weekend, and then the week going into New Year's. But it's going to be a struggle because of the fact that where the block is, what we're seeing with upper lows out in the Atlantic, what's going on in the Pacific. This is a negative PNA profile, by the way. You've got troughing in the western part of the United States. You really want that to kind of go away to some extent. You also have obviously you're going to have a deep negative NAO. You're going to have a very negative Arctic oscillation. Some of the Arctic oscillation forecast readings, Joe, are between 4 and 6 standard deviations from the mean for the week after Christmas and beyond that. So we're going to have a cold pattern. Does it yield fruit for snow lovers? I don't know. And also bear in mind, I saw a few of you. You can come off this, by the way. You can come off this. So bear in mind that we, I noticed a few of you talking about the MJO and a few other things. If none of that stuff couples, okay, it's not going to matter very much. So it's important to see if the MJ, the Madden-Julian oscillation couples with what's going on out in the Atlantic. Does the polar vortex looks like it wants to take a dive into eastern Canada next week and beyond? Does that couple down to the lower atmosphere? Honestly, I don't know. I think it's a tough call, and we've seen it before where it doesn't couple. and you're sitting there wondering, okay, why is this not happening? We've got a couple of years ago, if I remember correctly, we had a situation where we were in the MJO was like in phase 8, 1 and 2, which is the supposed cold phases. And it wasn't really doing anything in terms of the weather in the eastern part of the United States because it wasn't coupling. So those are the things I think we need to look for. And I think as long as I'm feeling okay, Joe, and you've got more energy, we can try this again tomorrow night and get into it a bit deeper.
No, we can't.
Oh, we can't? How come?
Because believe it or not, I'm going to be attending. Well, you probably could give me a good idea since you visited Alan on more than one occasion. Renata and I are supposed to be at a wedding tomorrow night, and that is going to be held. It's going to be held in Point Pleasant, New Jersey.
Okay.
How long do you think it's going to? Now, how long on a Friday afternoon, the Friday afternoon before Christmas Eve, Joe? How long do you think it would take me from here in Putnam Valley to go down to Point Pleasant, New Jersey?
Wait a minute. Hold on. The Friday afternoon, you're talking about tomorrow, Friday, right? Which is the okay. So Christmas Eve is another week away.
Right.
I'd leave early. I'd give yourself a lot of time. Does that help?
Yeah. My sister Lisa, who does not drive and is totally deficit as far as terminology and knowledge of the roadways in and around the tri-state area. She says to me, "Oh, can you pick me up? We'll all go together. We'll have fun in the car on the way down." Not knowing, of course, that if I drive from here to Throgs Neck, which is where she lives, that then I'm going to have to make the attempt to get to Point Pleasant by traveling over the George Washington Bridge.
Right, on the Cross Bronx Expressway, aka the longest 5 miles on Earth.
I said, no, I don't think
No, but
so.
Joe, you know what you could do?
What?
If you did have her in the car, you could make her the official sign reader, so that when you come off the George Washington Bridge, ask her to point to the sign that says 95. And you know how the signs are when you come off the George Washington Bridge on the Jersey side. I mean, really, you need to be a psychotic to truly understand what all those signs mean. So that's your other option. But I would give, if you're going down in and around rush hour, I certainly, if you don't have to go into the Bronx, just come down.
What we're going to do is we're going to take the Bear Mountain Bridge to the PIP, the Palisades Interstate Parkway, and then connect directly onto the Garden State. And depending upon conditions on the Garden State, where we are going to be totally and completely away from the GW. And I told her, finally she said, well, I'm going to have cousin Lori and her husband John pick me up. And I said, no. You're not going to have cousin Lori. They live in Yonkers. I said, you are going to get an Uber, or you're going to get a Lyft or something. You're going to go to Yonkers, and then you're going to ask John, what are you going to do? You're going to take the GW, which would be highly doubtful in my case if I were him, or take the Tappan Zee, which is not quite so bad, but still bad enough.
Right.
I mean, the circumstances are weird that the wedding is going to be on a Friday.
All right, so then we and I won't do a show tomorrow, but maybe I will. But we will definitely do a show on Sunday. Okay?
Yes.
So that's good.
It'll be coffee with Joe and Joe, with both Joes in the same time zone.
That's right, yes. And hopefully I'll be able to, whether it's coffee or tea, I'll be able to hold it down. So I know someone was asking me earlier, I think it was James Volpe, about I'm on Cipro, so yeah, it seems to be. I just actually took a dose, and as the show has gone on, I suddenly feel a lot better, because I was feeling a little touch and go before the show started. So I'm actually feeling a little bit better. See, Joe, you worked your own little personal miracle on me. You just having a conversation with you is enough to repair my colitis.
You were right at the very beginning, Joe, because when things are going good for you, they usually are going good for me. And when things are going lousy for me, they're usually going lousy for you as well. I don't know, maybe we were separated at birth.
It's quite possible. I mean, we basically lived within a mile or so of each other for the better part of 20 years. So
Yeah.
anyway, my stomach is talking to me, so I think we need to go. Okay. So everybody,
Okay.
thanks for being here tonight. I know the show was a little bit messy, but we'll get things organized. If I feel up to it tomorrow, maybe I'll do a solo show, and Joe and I will definitely be back on Sunday. So have a great rest of your evening and a good Friday ahead, and we'll see you either tomorrow or Sunday. Good night, everybody.
Nighty night.
Oh.